Call a meeting of the Traffic Safety Commission to order. Would you call the roll, please?
Good afternoon, Randy Ruby, Todd Horn,
Here.
Marvin Neville. I don't know. How to say that.
Nevler.
Nevler. He is not. He is excused. Bryce Chainborn,
Here.
Timothy Westfall, remote. I see his name.
Here.
Thank you. Robert Hahn,
Here.
Jason McMillan,
Here.
Roger Petrick, absent, and Dennis Werko.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, does anybody on the committee have any communications?
I do. I have an email that was sent to me by Jason Hastings on May 30th. I'll read the email. It was provided to me. It says, "Good morning, Bobby. I see the traffic safety agenda is out. I'm really concerned about the hazard of having JA Power Sports business being ran just outside of Park Falls. It is a very hazardous area, being a commercial lot with pontoons and trailers backing in and out all day long on the state highway. I would suggest moving the speed limit from where it turns 45 further eastbound, leaving the speed limit on that corner 35 miles per hour. I live off of 182 and there has been some close calls. I have no ill wills against the owner, but I believe we can prevent an accident in the future if traffic was slowed past there. Thank you for your time, Jason Hastings." So what I did is I went back to the traffic data maps, and I checked in the last 5 years of the accidents in this general area where Mr. Hastings is talking about. And in the last 5 years, we've had one motor vehicle crash there. It was an OWI accident. It was a rollover. So I think speed played a factor, but I think speed would have played a factor regardless of what the speed limit was there. And then there were two additional crashes to the east of that at an intersection of City Wells and 182, and one crash to the west at the intersection of Saunders and 182. So I just wanted to bring that to the committee's attention.
A little additional information on that too is that property was discussed at zoning. So when they got their conditional use permit, it was discussed where they could not park, blah, blah, blah. But it did get brought back up with the same concern, and they did discuss it further with no action to talk to anybody or change their conditional use of that property.
Yeah, but he's moved. He wasn't by where this house is, right next door, and he's moved over to a commercial building that's already existing.
Yeah, they talked about it at zone. It was brought up at zoning.
Yeah.
What was the name of the building again? I didn't catch it.
It's J&A Power Sports.
Right there.
Okay. Yeah, I can go back and look at this too and see if there's anything. And he said that it would be, he thinks it might be best to lower it from 45 miles per hour to 35. Was it?
That's what he recommended, because
Okay.
currently the posted speed limit there is 45 miles per hour. He recommends that we lower it to 35. I guess in my opinion, based upon the crash data, I'm not seeing justification for it. But then again,
Yeah.
I'll leave that up to you guys. But
Yeah, I agree with that, but I'll take a look at it. And it was on Wisconsin 182 State Road.
correct. And
Okay.
the area that he's talking about is State Highway 182, right there by the intersection of East Cedar Street.
Okay.
The J&A Service Marine and Power Sports.
Okay.
Drive through there a lot. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but I've never seen anybody backing in there off the highway, ever.
Right. I guess I haven't personally witnessed it either.
It could have happened, but I have never seen it.
That'd be this property.
Yeah, okay. Public comment. Is there any public comment? There's nobody in the gallery. Is there anybody online? It's *6 if you want to unmute yourself. I don't hear any. Meeting minutes from March 6, 2025. What's your pleasure on the minutes?
I'd move to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Law enforcement reports. Price County Sheriff's, Mr. Hahn.
So far between March and June, since we had our last meeting, county, we've had 49 total crashes, 16 of which were injury, and one was an impaired driver. Also, since that time, our agency has 13 OWI arrests, 14 drug offenses, but again, not all of those resulted from motor vehicle contacts, but we have had 14 drug offenses. Our agency has received 45 traffic complaints, with a majority of those being reporting reckless driving or weaving within their lane or leaving their lane. And also, since the last meeting, our agency has also conducted 422 traffic stops. That is our report.
Park Falls Police Department, Marv, he isn't with us. We'll go to the Wisconsin State Patrol. Tim? You got anything for us?
Nothing to share.
Thank you. Wisconsin Department of Transportation, Todd, Bureau.
Okay. Wants to go pretty slow here. I'm gonna get out of there quick. There we go. It's a little slow. So my numbers are pretty close to Bob's. I ran mine on Monday, but since our last meeting, I show 43 crashes, 0 fatalities, 14 injuries. So we're pretty close there. Community Maps now has a new function on it, which is kind of neat. Highway system type. So if you see in the upper left-hand corner, you can now search your county for crashes based on if you have the interstate going through, or you can search by U.S. highway, state highway, county road, or local road. And what local road means is all the township roads that have names on them, and then also the city and village streets. So they all get clumped together in local roads. So I decided to do a little search using that new function. So Price County, we're looking at county highways right now with all the letters on them. And over the last year, there was 34 crashes on your county highways, 1 fatality with 8 injuries. Excuse me, when you look at some flags that maybe one of the deputies or the deputies and troopers and officers check, one of them is 65 plus drivers. Price County highway crashes over the last year, 38% of those county crashes, the officer, trooper, deputy checked 65 plus driver. When you look at what I consider usually the top 5, so speed, 65 plus, teen driver, distracted, impaired, 59% of your crashes had at least one of those checked, maybe multiple, but for sure one. Then we move on to state and U.S. highways. Over the last year, you had 86 crashes, 3 fatalities, 26 injuries. Speed 65 plus, teen, distracted, and impaired make up 55% of those flags for those crashes. Looking at your local roads, again, that's your township roads, your city villages. So that would include obviously Phillips and Park Falls and everything. That's 54 crashes, 0 fatalities, 4 injuries. Speed 65 plus, teen distracted, impaired 61%. So it's interesting just to take note of, you know, how many crashes you're having on your different types of roadway types, and the flags or the reasons for the crashes, or maybe not a reason, but you know, factors that are involved with those. So moving on, we're at the end of the quarter. The quarter started in April for me, and that was work zone safety, you know, time. So I'm just getting up to you folks here, but again, I want to make sure that we cover work zone crashes. This is information that was given to me from the state, and we're disseminating it through all the TSCs in the state. And you know, why are documenting work zone crashes important? Well, it goes along with trying to develop better and safer work zones in the future. People set up work zones with the best of, you know, hopes that it'll work the way they want to, but sometimes they're surprised, or sometimes there's different factors involved that they weren't expecting. So we're always improving and modifying them. But some of the things that they look at with their work zones is, should we have a barrier wall or a jersey wall up while we're doing work? Should we close off a lane? Should we be working on off hours, off peak hours? Should the ramps be closed, full road closures, things of that nature? There we go. So they do weekly, monthly reviews of the crash data, and they try to make adjustments to the work zones if they need more signage or they need to adjust the work zone. That's what that's all about. So obviously the crash documents help them going forward. And also, if you have a certain amount of crash data, it can help for applying for grant funding as well. So we move into the components of a work zone. And I've been saying this to law enforcement just to make note of this first area, and that's before the work zone. So if you can see the chart up, or the picture up there, it's showing, you know, essentially a 2-lane road all going in one direction, and there's a work area, and you know, people are being partitioned off to the left lane, and then they come back out of it. Well, the before work zone is the area before you actually even see any signs before you enter the work zone. And the reason why that's important is because if you take a look at the picture, you could imagine on a busy Friday or Saturday or Sunday, there would be maybe backed up traffic trying to get through there. And all of a sudden you get a rear end crash, and the rear end crash occurs not even in the work zone itself. And it maybe even occurs before there's signage warning of a work zone. If it's a bad enough backup, we're telling law enforcement, make sure you check that as a work zone crash, because that affects the numbers. It certainly was affected by the work zone. And like I was just saying before, you know, it helps with safety and grant funding and things of that nature. So, but to be very plain, the before work zone is the area before the signs start, right? Then you move into the advanced warning area, and that is located after the first warning sign, but before the work starts. Then you have the transition area where the lanes are shifted or tapered for a lane closure. So now we're getting into the meat and potatoes of the work zone. Then you have the activity area where the work is actually being done. And then the termination area where we're starting to bring vehicles back over into that lane and start working them towards going back up to normal highway speed. So types of work zones, also lane closure. We all know what that is. It's when we are closing off a lane. We might be using the drums, the 42-inch cones or concrete barrier walls in order to partition off a lane. Then you have intermittent or moving work. I think we've all seen that, where the highway department is doing painting or crack filling or pothole patching, and they're slowly going down the roadway, and that work zone is moving, right? Then you have the lane shift or crossover occurs when lanes are maintained but traffic is shifted. So a lot of times you're driving on the shoulder, you know, but that's still a traffic lane. And then work in the shoulder or median, that's just what it is. There's work being done in the shoulder or median areas. Any questions about that? Just a heads up on Safe Roads Challenge. Traditionally, the time between Memorial Day and Labor Day is the deadliest for teen drivers. And so Safe Roads Challenge, every year that I've been involved with this, has run a program, an initiative, the 100 Safest Days. So there's ways for them to take part in Safe Roads Challenge and earn money and prizes and things of that nature. That's going on right now. So, I did not see any fatal crashes this quarter in Price County, which is good. I always like to review a crash, however. So even if we go on to maybe serious crashes, sometimes those are only serious crashes due to luck or, the person was wearing a seatbelt, things of that nature. So I always try to review at least one crash. The one I selected was what occurred on May 12th at 11:53 a.m. This was on Highway 13 south of Wayside Road in the township of, is it Fifield? Okay. So it was a head-on collision between two vehicles, and that's the location where it occurred. And I got to move this window here so I can read. Apologize. So you can see in the diagram, excuse me, Unit 1 was traveling northbound on Highway 13, while Unit 2 was traveling southbound, so opposite directions. Unit 1 abruptly crossed over the center line in the path of Unit 2. Driver of Unit 2 took the shoulder and attempted not to collide with Unit 1. The vehicles struck each other. It appears, based on the sketch, Bob, you know more about it than I do, but it appears like it was not a square hit. The truck driver, arguably, based on what I'm reading, the truck driver probably saved a life, based on how they, tried to avoid the crash and kept it from being a true head-on collision. Either way, the vehicles struck each other, but not squarely. Unit 1 was in the roadway. Unit 2 was in the ditch on its side. So the truck was on its side. So, excuse me, got to move this again. This is an overhead view of the crash scene. This is northbound Highway 1 or Highway 13 view. This would be southbound. Road's good, straight, flat. So the environmental or roadway factors, we had a dry road. It was daylight. There's no real roadway factors. Weather was clear. Speed limit was 55 mile per hour. Taking a look at the crash history, I always like to see if there's any type of roadway issue or, nagging issue in that area. Since 2020, I don't do a large search area for the crashes because it's not really fair to have, come up with all kinds of crash history 3 miles down the road. I try to hit it right where it happened. So it's not a huge search area, but since 2025 crashes with 0 fatal and 3 injury, and the flags that the officers have checked or, causes or for the crash, we had a commercial motor vehicle, government property, lane departure, 65 plus, distracted, seatbelt, aggressive, and speed. So I can do a search of the crash area by putting a little square or rectangle up there, or I can go right along the road. So I just went right along the road on this one, and you can see where the crashes have occurred. Okay, so the crash types. This is obviously a motor vehicle versus motor vehicle. First vehicle, Unit 1 was a 15 Ford Focus, 1 occupant. Serious injury to the driver, not ejected, not trapped. Oh, I'm sorry, but trapped and extricated, and they received the EMS transport. Subject factors, Unit 1 driver, that was a 34-year-old male. Again, serious injury. They were wearing a belt. Airbags were deployed. No use of intoxicants were detected. No tests given, and their actions: failure to keep in lane and failure to control motor vehicle. It does state that the driver was on a handheld phone looking away from the task of driving when the crash occurred. The second vehicle, it was a 24 Peterbilt semi, 1 occupant, minor injury, not ejected, not trapped, not transported. 59-year-old male, minor injury, was wearing a belt, no airbag deployment, no alcohol or drugs detected, and they appeared normal, no contributing factors. So I know you get a lot of crashes. I don't know if that one stands out to you. It's obviously not a fatal, but if there's anything further, but let's see. Moving on, fatal crashes in the state of Wisconsin as of May 31st. I'll send these slides out to everyone. It's kind of a neat chart. When you look down below, you can kind of compare where we are during the different months, from comparing 25 to 24 for, say bicyclists or motorcycle riders or drivers or passengers in vehicles. But overall for 2025, so far as of May 31st, we've had 175 crashes that have resulted in a fatal injury, and 189 people as of May 31st have lost their lives in the state. Always like to plug this. Governor's Conference is coming up, and there's some really good training coming up. I was just over in Iron County, and I think they're going to send one of their deputies to it, sergeant. And this year, I'll just go over what they're covering. There's been a lot of work that's gone into this, but Jay Otto, who is a traffic safety expert from out west, I think it was Montana or Wyoming, he'll be there to discuss traffic safety culture. And especially in your community, Vision Zero for your community, ATVs, UTVs. I know there's some officials from Marinette County that will be showing up and discussing ATVs, UTVs in their community and how to go forward with that. Obviously, drug trends, OWI law, first responder wellness, teen driver, and then the other part would be work zones, bridge collapse, vehicle fires, and I've discussed this in all of my TSCs this quarter. I said in a WebEx meeting from a gentleman who was, I think he's from like the Appleton, Oshkosh area's fire department, and they discussed the vehicle fires and what a challenge it's been for them. Because it's not like a normal fire when you're on the side of the road, you put it out and then you call the tow truck. These fires, some of them, based on the fact that they have multiple panel batteries which are attached to one another, and one goes, then the next one, then the next one. That's why it takes so long to put them out, and the temperatures are very extreme. So some of the information they're going to discuss at the governor's conference is about these vehicle fires. And it seems like one of the trends lately, or the ideas, and it doesn't always work, but to have a steel bedded flatbed. A lot of tow trucks nowadays have aluminum, but to have a steel bed and then get the vehicle under control and get it out of there and take it to a predetermined area like in a field where it can sit there and burn off. Otherwise, you're probably never going to put it out on the side of the road. It can burn for a week or two. So that's what they're going to discuss. So if you can send someone, that'd be great. There is the meeting, that the Monday night dinner that we have for traffic safety chairman and designated people. So we'd love to have you there too. That's part of the sign up. So that's all I have. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Todd? Hearing nothing, we'll go to the traffic safety engineer, Randy.
There we go. Randy Ruby, traffic operations engineer. This is the WISDOT traffic engineers report for Bryce County. I just have a couple of construction projects to go through with you all, and also a safety assessment that we're doing in Park Falls. So this is 511 Wisconsin project information webpage. I'm sure everyone here is aware of it, but you can visit this to get weekly road construction updates during the summer. And so we'll get started the construction projects on Wisconsin 13. There's a 1.9 mile pavement replacement in Phillips. I think that may be the one that's going on right now. Anticipated construction is from May 15th to August 15th. I did contact the project manager and he gave me those dates. They may shift a little bit, so don't take them as and then the contractor's American Asphalt. Traffic will remain open during most of the construction with single lane closures and flagging. And there is a temporary detour to accommodate the grading that's going on and storm sewer upgrades that is running from County W and Avon Avenue from July 28th to July 31st. And then also on Wisconsin 13, 2.2 mile pavement replacement in Park Falls. This is anticipated to run from June 9th to September 1st. Contractor American Asphalt again. It will remain open during traffic for most of the construction with single lane closures. Access to residences and businesses will be maintained. And then also on Wisconsin 13, 12.5 mile pavement resurfacing between Phillips and Fifield from May 30th to August 4th. It will remain open to traffic with single lane closures. Same contractor, American Asphalt, and access will be maintained at all times. We have a lot of construction projects. Wisconsin 111, 10.6 mile pavement resurface between Catawba and Wisconsin 13 from July to the end of August. Contractor Pitlick and Wick Incorporated. It will remain open to traffic during most of construction. Single lane closures and flagging. Access is maintained at all times. There is a detour expected. I talked to the project manager, and I'll just have to get more information from him as the project nears towards July. So I don't know if you guys would like the information. I can get it to you. I think a couple more. Wisconsin 102, 6 mile pavement resurfacing between Rib Lake and Spirit. The tentative construction is from August to mid-October. American Asphalt is the contractor. It will remain open with single lane closures, and access is maintained at all times. There's one more on County O. There's a bridge replacement from June to mid-August. The contractor is Sheet Filling Service. And County O will be closed during construction. Road closure signs will be placed at adjacent intersections, and alternative routes are available. So that was the last construction project. And here is a operational and safety assessment that me and our North Central Region's traffic safety engineer, Tony Chemnitz, have been working on. We received a letter from Park Falls on February 25th, and they are requesting the Wisconsin DOT to modify speed limits on State Highway 13, stating the city of Park Falls desires for this change. The request was being made as there's a higher volume of traffic exiting some businesses and a safety concern for summer maintenance. Addition to this, there is a proposed 60-unit housing development near the northern limits to the city with access off the Tower Road. So I went out there May 7th, May 8th, and did some counts, and that study is currently in progress, and we're looking to, or we're reviewing it to see if we can be lowered from 40 to 35 miles per hour on the southern and northern speed zones. I have a little bit more information on the next slide. So I got some of the study results here, and we look at a lot of things when determining to lower speed limits. In the past, I believe that they relied heavily on the 85th percentile. Although we do look at this, we also take into account some other things such as roadway context, the traffic volume at those locations, land use. Like they said, there's a proposed 60-unit housing development, so that would be something that is definitely of interest, and crash history as well. So we are looking into it, and we'll get a report out sometime in the near future. And I think that is all for me. Did anyone have any questions?
No, just a couple statements for you.
Sure.
The housing development has been postponed,
Okay.
and I don't know if it'll ever get done, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
The prices, they got priced out, basically, is what's happening there.
That makes sense.
As far as their concerns about traffic entering the highway at businesses, I think that isn't what the real reason is. The real reason is to get UTVs on the highway. That's what they want.
So I explained to this when I explained that to Tony Chemnitz, our safety engineer, and he wants me to still look at it, but I did state to him that I was like, yeah, I think this is a UTV, ATV, whatever issue. They want to lower it so they can whip through.
Yeah, the motel on the far south end of town
Mm-hmm.
has no access for UTVs or ATVs. That's what they want to do, is open that up so that they can get to that motel.
Okay. Well, with the housing development being postponed, that might, I don't know if it'll be passed, but we'll have to just look and see.
I don't know if that's ever gonna happen now.
Okay.
By the sounds of it, it may, but right now it's put on hold. Is that it?
Yep, that's all for me.
Okay, thanks, Randy.
Yep.
School transportation, Jason, you got anything?
Nope, not at this time.
Okay. Your turn in the sun, Bryce.
Oh, I got nothing.
Oh, you're a good man.
Per usual.
Gail isn't here. I have nothing. And Roger isn't here. And I don't think he's online either, is he?
We have some stuff.
Oh. So, unless somebody's got something, we'll adjourn the meeting. Our next meeting date is scheduled for September the 4th.